on Celeste, that's really odd. We saw the Cruel Celeste come from Brenchong, so maybe Elite 8 don't want to pick one of them, because generally, if you want to deny Cruel Celeste, you either ban Cruel or pick Celeste, but this time we're seeing a Celeste ban. So that means Brenchong could either go with the Scarf ban to get rid of all of those late game carries, or they could try and get rid of maybe the Baptiste, because we know Elite 8 are very comfortable on Baptiste.
Yeah, Baptiste would be a solid ban for the side of Brenchong at this point in time, just to deny official Hein on that Baptiste. And whether or not, though, Elite 8 will go through this ban, they are taking the time. However, thinking about the second phase of draft, they are going to ban out that Scarf. Yet again, both majors taken out in the second phase of draft, but no emphasis on Baptiste yet, although the side of Elite 8 now have got a chance to pick up that Baptiste for themselves, or they can just give out a comp that they've played so far as well. They can pick up the Rona. We've seen a couple of Ronas from them before. Rona for them looks like a very comfortable pick as well. Han Jaeger especially on that Rona. But Baptiste would be the more solid pickup at this point in time. Because you do not want to show a hand too much, but they are going to settle for that Fox going up against this Baron.
It's a very 2.6 meta draft from both sides, seeing Baron, Grace and Vox all picked despite all being nerfed in this patch. I think Vox into Baron isn't the best decision. Maybe that's just a comfort pick for Elite 8. So I think Baron does extremely well against Vox, and now that means they're not able to get the Baptiste picked. I'd expect that to go into Captain, but they're actually going to make it Crystal Baptiste and go for the Captain Lance. Good drafting from Brenchong. They're happy with this comp. They like to play Lance. And so I think what Elite 8 needs to do here is need to pick Celeste. Oh wait, no, it's been banned. They have to go something like Samuel. So another thing Brenchong have done really well is they've picked Crystal Baptiste, who's countered by the two heroes that have been banned in the second phase. So that leaves not much left open for Elite 8 to counter that Crystal Baptiste.
Yeah, but even then, if they do go for that Samuel, then it's countered or rather checked quite hard by this Baptiste. And the side of Elite 8, they will settle for that Black Feather. Not surprising whatsoever, because you have the Rose Offensive to just get out of that Ordain when it does land on you. But in the early game, though, Baptiste is just so much stronger as compared to you. And on top of that, a lot of hard CCs coming up from that Lance with those Root. And of course, on top of that, getting wall you into a wall and thus stunning you. And whereas for Grace, you have only one CC, and that really is just your Holy Nova that's easily dodgeable as well. So honestly, looking at draft itself, although I do not quite favor the Baron pickup on the side of Brenchong, but I must say Brenchong just looks like they have got a stronger draft, a more robust, balanced comp throughout, whereas the side of Elite 8, it is down to, just Vox doesn't do quite well into that of Baron, but granted, you have that early game against the Baron, so it is just down to execution from the side of Elite 8, but I'm sure Elite 8 can do this, but for now, I still favor the drafting coming up from the side of Brenchong.
Yeah, I do agree. I think Brenchong have drafted slightly better. Elite 8 may have more comfortable picks, so that's why they went for that's most likely why they went for the Vox. And CP Blackfeather, he's quite good against Baptiste. Obviously, with that Rose Offensive, you can dodge Ordain stuns. But I think if I'm playing Baptiste and I use my Ordain to force Blackfeather ult, that's a positive trade for me. My Ordain is up again reasonably soon. I do it again, I force another ult, and Blackfeather suddenly has no Rose Offensive to dive into your backline, dive onto your Baron. So that gives Baron an easy pass out away from Blackfeather if he's forced to Rose Offensive out of Ordain. So I think Baptiste can do really well as long as they just wait a little bit before the fight breaks out. And if Baron's allowed to poke during that little waiting phase, then Brenchong will be in a fantastic position. Then again, Elite 8, all they have to do, pressure Baron, not let him farm up, and try and win the game before he manages to get that 4, maybe even 5 damage items.
Yep, which is very easy for this current patch to just poke out Baron, only because of how badly he scales now, even into the late game, because of the 5% damage dip that he received in 2.7 change. So that is one thing that's going for the side of Elite 8. And on top of that, Elite 8 has got a very strong early game lane comp with that Grace, and of course on top of that, Han Jaeger as well. Items much cheaper if he is opting for that Poison Shift build, then definitely cheaper, definitely easier to get to with that build. And you can poke out and of course out sustain that of Baron. as well in that of the early game. However, we do see though that Hunt is playing and not Majin that we usually would see on the side of Brenchong. So a rather significant change. I mean, this is the final day you can and have a chance to get into the live championships right now. So if you don't have your original roster,
they're just unable to steal away that Korean, so he's playing pretty well at the moment. I'm going to say he can get stunned up. Venegas did rotate down, so Brenchong really can't fight this. They're 2v3. Mr. Jim obviously got the ambient back with Sync 1, but that means the box pushed the wave in, so Baron was forced to try and clear that before trying to impale on Venegas. No Sonic Zoom yet, he's only level 1. So there's just a little poke from both sides. Brenchong are level 2 on Baron, so Venegas really can't try and fight this. Got a massive wave. Venegas got a massive wave to try and clear. I think Mr. Jim will rotate either to the backs, but they will be about to be taken to the support home. He's actually going to try and farm up.
Damn, I must say, the amount of times I've seen this skin on this Lance, and yet every single time I look at Lance and this particular skin itself, I'm in awe, right? I just like this skin so much. I'm so sorry. So sorry for like sidetracking, but that is something.
It is a good skin. It is a good skin. It's one of my favorite skins to have.
Ooh, that recall animation though on Lance. But Brenchong now, they will go in for the mid train, or rather the side of E8, and it's just down whether or not Sync 1 can steal this ancient treant, and unfortunately the side of E8 will get it, and I mean pays off for their effort that they went in to try to get this ancient treant at the end of the day. Sync 1 though, I'm expecting a little more aggression coming up from him, especially going up against an official high on this CP Black Feather, only because you are so much stronger, especially when you're empowered. So it is quite astounding to me, or rather astonishing to me, that they are playing so very passive. Granted, you have the Baron, you cannot be very, very aggressive or all out in terms of aggression in that early game, but even then, ooh, interesting coming up from the side of Brenchong.
Yeah, we're seeing Baron take all the farm, didn't he? He got the backs away from Sync 1. So that means that official Hein on 21 CS to Sync 1 10, and he's not going to get caught out by the hook, no, but maybe caught out by the faint part. Dane on Black Feather, and Venegas has a good rotation. Sync 1 going to back off, he'll be okay. And yeah, Mr. Jim, he's not that far ahead of Venegas despite taking all the jungle away from Sync 1, so suggests Baron maybe having a little bit of trouble with farming, and he's going to have to get some items to put home. But what do you think? Do you think hyper farming Baron's a good idea, or should they make Matisse more of a powerhouse?
But I guess that kind of works because Matisse is kind of a balanced hero in that late game, whereas Baron struggles to get into the late game. So by giving Baron that little bit of farm, you know, in your jungle, then it kind of just intensify, you know. It kind of just, you know, push you into that of the late game in when the 9th minute or so reaches. You have your levels, on top of that you have got extra farm as well. So I guess it's a decent idea going into this particular team comp as well, and I reckon Sync 1 on this Matisse will just be there for that Ordain, and of course just to be in line with that of Lance, so Lance can drop those roots and impales easier. That way Baron, or rather Mr. Jim on that Baron, can just put out so much damage in that of the mid game. So I understand where they are coming from, and yet again we do see the Serpent's Mask being picked up for Mr. Jim on that Baron.
Yeah, I like that. I think that's the best build Baron dispatches over Serpent's Mask, potential bow, 3 crit items. I think that is the best build, because you get a little bit of sustain and you get Saints, very similar damage to the old 4 item Baron build. You just get 5 items to do it now. Jim can try and farm up this away best he can. Time with some nice poke, and it's just playing part of this one. Uday does land onto the middle line. Take a little bit of poke, but put more back onto Mr. Jim, potion to keep himself healthy. And now Mr. Jim is not going to calm the wave, he's going to go to the back. So I think he might be spotted, so it's really going to push this wave quite hard here. Baron only able to get the treant before the minion candy wave is stopped by Deadpan. I think they must know, Elite must know that Brenchong are ready up. And we're seeing so much Crystal Sentry emphasis from all teams today. What can Sync 1 do? Nothing. And that's a Sentry first life defeated already. Elite 8 are really rotating as a team.
Yep, I mean, removing the MVP first in the game is always important. It is like you going down very hard on the carry, So in this case, a lot of times you've seen, and even in the late game, it's just the Crystal Sentry is just way too OP, and then you have to remove it as early as possible because Crystal Sentry has got 3 lives at the end of it all. But all jokes aside, honestly, Elite 8 is performing so much better in terms of rotation as compared to that of Brenchong. And like I said earlier on before stream, it's that Brenchong really likes
Impale, good double shot at the end. Nothing gonna come out of it.
Yeah, really likes that Lance pick up for themselves, and a lot of times when they have the Lance, they like to be very, very aggressive, but in this case, the aggression is not coming through because of how late game that Baron is. Like you said, the Surface Mask is good pickup on Baron, but Baron now needs 5 offensive items to make himself work and put out decent damage, or rather similar damage, rather than usually you just need 4 offensive items. And overall, at the end of it all, it's cheaper as well to have 4 offensive items, and the output of damage is just so much greater. Yet again, the side of E8 going for the Crystal Sentry, just ignoring the existence whatsoever coming up from Brenchong.
Yeah, this is what we saw yesterday. We're seeing it again today. Is you push the wave as 3, so if they don't rotate out to lane, we'll just get your turret down and kill it, and if they do rotate out to lane, you go straight to their Crystal Sentry. I think it's a rotation we're going to see a lot more of. I think teams are going to get smart to it, they're going to try and counter it as best they can, but it works extremely well, and it is hard to counter, because we know Baron, he clears the wave quite quickly, but he has to get to backs to get ambient or to take them away from Batiste, and so that means there is time for Elite 8 to push this wave. So it's a really good rotation, and Sentry eliminated twice already. We saw Sentry be defeated before 10 minutes, it was about 9 minutes 40 in a game yesterday, so interesting to see if Elite 8 can actually beat that record, maybe get Sentry eliminated before 9 minutes in.
Yep, Sentry will be creeping back onto the fold very soon. Once again, Dead Hunt just left alone to defend this lane, and once again, I must say, the side of Brenchong just don't have an answer just yet, but I'll just hold that thought when an Iron Cannon drops.
Dead Hunt's gonna push back at him, that maneuver does not land. If he's tanking the turret, he's going very low. 5 wants to punch the backside on point, 366 damage onto the Baron. One more on point and he will fall. Elite 8 gonna push the wave and go for Sentry, I'm calling it now. Midi Candy, that's the cue. Gonna push this wave up, rotate down, Baron's ported home. I think they might get it under 9 minutes. They're going to go straight through it. I think Lance is going to try and stop it. Yeah, he's going to roll through the wall. But will he be able to do enough Impale? Lands on Anime Save Me. Sentry, 8 minutes 37. That's the elimination Sentry. And that will be 1 kill traded over, 1 onto Lance, and a second onto Baron. He went straight back and just died. Elite 8 as 3-man, and Brenchong, Lance went by himself. Baron came in at 2v3. Then Batiste came at the end after his teammates had already died. So they're not rotating as a team. This may be a turret falling.
Yep, this just might be the turret for the side of Elite 8. Elite 8 once again bringing up what we saw from Impunity, rotating as a team of 3, prioritizing on that Crystal Sentry, not so much on those kills or even turret. And I guess this rotation kind of works at the end of the day, because you are stressing your opponents out, because your opponents don't know when to catch you. And we did see though Dead Hunt trying his best to try to stop the side of Elite 8, but to what extent? To the extent where you sacrifice 1 life, and of course your life and your Batiste's life as well. So not a very good play coming up from the side of Brenchong going into this game, but I must say, very well executed coming up from the side of Elite 8. Once again, we do see both teams, or all 3 members of Elite 8 once again up in lane.
They are. Official Hein is infused, so is Jaegers. It's also infused, but Sync 1 is not. So it's 2 times for Elite 8. For danger of Official Hein. Iron Cannon's going to be got down. It will be dodged by no one, actually. I think 2 members. Official Hein going to get that Divine Intervention. And there was an Echo use, so it's back up again for Anime Save Me. Dead Hunt is just poking back. He wants to get an Impale, and Sync 1's going to do those bad mojos to poke. Elite 8 now going to push the wave. Nicely in, Anime Save Me. He's going to good block for Baron. Block out onto your day. Baron taking a lot of damage. There's going to go mention. And Black has picked up 1 kill. He's diving into the turrets. Damage onto Sync 1. No Ordain for another couple of seconds. Behind. Going to be pushed out, and he is going to receive the bounce. They're going on to Sync 1. There's the Ordain of the Anime Save Me. And Official Hein going to Rose offensive through. Not quite going to have the on point. But Jaegers wants to go down, he's not going to do enough. dives under turrets, doesn't get the kill. Official High does die. Elite 8 managing to get the turret though, so it's definitely going to be working for them unless Sync 1 can stop it. He's too low to even try. Animate 8 beat 1 basic, and that is a turret and 2 kills for Elite 8.
Yep, 1 turret, 2 kills, and they did give over Official Hind's health, but that wouldn't quite matter to them. At least they have gotten 2 more kills and of course a turret out of that. I'm not surprised if they will just rotate into that gold mine, but we saw this rotation coming up from Impunity yesterday, and gold mine wasn't quite the focus whatsoever. A lot of the focus is just traveling in a man of 3 and afterwards deleting the sentry and then just put a lot of pressure in that lane. We do see the Official Hide just have got more items, offensive items in this case as compared to Sync 1. Sync 1 has got a clockwork, has got a 30% more crystal power coming up from that clockwork, but at the end of the day just do not have the raw power, raw damage coming out from that of Official Hide, and we do see a lot of damage coming through from the side of Elite 8. They are going to get gold
mine, and they don't get it. Iron Cannon is a little bit late. They're going to go in Crucible, which is a bit too early, but he dodged the Fearsome Shade, and they're going to stay alive, and Jaeger's taking a lot of damage on the piece, but he's going to go in off Bound, going down almost dead, but not quite. He's going to do that Sonic Zoom. Sync 1 is kiting backwards. Mr. Jim is going, there's no crystal sentry found in his speed. Mr. Jim going to go, lots of flash, behind, and it's good jump, gets over the wall. Two-man Holy Nova, Sync 1 is going low, so is Dead Hunt. And they say big, the back off Official High going to secure that tree, and now he wants on point with Mr. Jim, and will now pick up the kill. All working mid stacks, that's how you do it. Well played by Official High, and they got the gold man secured. Now Elite 8 going to push this tier 2 turret.
Yep. I mean, very well played indeed. 519 damage, and Lan's not making quite an impact in this game like I was expecting. I mean, there's a lot of CC coming out from the side of Brenchong, but just not enough to stop the side of Elite 8. But I guess that is the problem really with this particular rotation coming up from Elite 8. It is rather difficult to stop because we do see though, even if I mean, Baron can push the wave very well, and this was something that we spoke about. If Baron do push, or rather when any team tries this particular rotation, and if Baron does, and the laner should just push, clear the wave and push immediately. But even in this case, with a Baron online in the side of Brenchong, they just couldn't find an opportunity to push whatsoever, because honestly, enemy save is constantly there, and the wave is more often than not just minion candy. After canting the wave, they just rotate down, take the sentry, and back up again. And there was nothing that the side of Brenchong could find an answer to in this particular rotation. And I guess it is just down to the experience of the team. We saw this coming from the top teams of like that of Impunity, and today we are seeing from Elite 8, the crown champion of spring season.
I think Official High knocked them for 5 seconds apart from each other. They needed to wait for it, which is a little bit of hope, and silence doesn't quite land for Jaegers, though we don't think there's the find eventually behind his diving deep. This stage does not quite land. The Iron Cannon popping up next to High, just out of range. But Jaegers taking a little bit of poke, give one more on point. Pop the finger up, and it's not enough. What are you doing, Black Feather? Walking through the Ordain, he is going to fall. Baron gets the credit for that, and now Brenchong going to try and turn this guy around. Jaegers very low, he's going to go for the wall jump. No, he's not, he's just going to walk away. Now, Elite 8 trying to run. Good Holy Nova to make sure that not follow, and that could cost Animate taking his life. Yes, it will, but Vox gets away. That's what they needed. No ace, and Elite 8 just slightly disappointed in that push. I think Official High went a bit too deep on the turret. Yep.
Official High definitely did go too deep. It is just down to whether Brenchong can just fully utilize this, but not much damage at least coming out from Mr. Jim. I was expecting a lot more damage, and that's why I went with those ooh and ahs. But what is wrong right now? He has got a Tyrant's Monocle, he has got a Serpent's Mask, he has got a Tension Bow as well. But Han Jaeger already has got the massive jacket, and this is the reason why a lot of times we do see that, once you have your first item followed by the Tension Bow, you really need to start putting pressure. Else, once that metal jacket is built up on Vox, you really have got no damage, as we saw as well coming out from Mr. Jim on Han Jaeger. Not much damage as well, but the chase is on for the side of Elite 8.
There's going to wait for it. Silence Man landing onto all 2 members, but Jaegers is alone. He's 1 versus 2. He's going to Sonic Zoom out of that Ordained. And luckily for Hunyegers, he was not caught out despite being not with the rest of his team. And Elite 8 now going to rotate straight to Kraken. They're 6.5k gold ahead. All 3 members of Brenchong have ported home. And so I think Elite 8, they could hide and fight, which looks like they've got the vision control. They're going to hide and fight, which makes sense. The bait is that they're taking Kraken right now. That's what Brenchong are going to expect. There's no flare. They don't know where they are. This is bad for Brenchong. Yes, they'll be flared out, so well played by Dead Hunt. You did expect them to be waiting, and now Elite 8 probably should just take the Kraken, because they're not going to be able to hide. Trying to push the wave right now would be very difficult. So they need to force a fight. As you said, Baron will ramp up. He's almost got that Tornado trigger, only about 210 gold left until Baron can afford to pick that one up. So Elite 8 need to fight quite soon, but yeah, they're just going to hide in a bush and hope that Dead Hunt is going to flare out the Kraken and leave his team in a bad position. So there's the first flare. He's going to flare down and look for them in this bush, and they're not there, so he knows that they're doing something sneaky. And Baron and Batiste are playing fantastically well. Dead Hunt is being almost suicidal in his movements, but it doesn't matter because the rest of his team isn't there. And he's going to walk straight through, going to flare them out and roll over the wall. Elite 8 aren't able to hide. Brenchong right here. They're going to go for a fight now. There's the Sonic. There's going to be Vox going in. Nope, they're kind of going to just poke for a bit. And Elite 8 really want to go in. I think the water. They don't have water edge yet, but Vox used his wait for it. Used boots, and now Elite 8 are just like, what do? We don't want to take Kraken because they can steal it away from us. We know that Baron is great at that, so is Batiste. We're not great at securing it, so we need to fight. They're now going to go into Dead Hunt. Iron Cannon to zone them away. And what do you think Elite 8 should do? Should they take Kraken and let it maybe be stealed, or just try and hide and fight?
I mean, they had a lot of chance to get that Kraken earlier on, and they are going to go on to the Kraken right now. Although the side of Elite 8, they might just, the side of Brenchong, they might just steal this Kraken. But Iron Cannon is down, Fearsome Shade is up, and the Impale from Lance, quite a good Kraken stealer as well. To be
double shot from Baron. Vox manages to get it. Fearsome Shade was far too late. Silence standing on the 3 members. Brenchong now wants to back off. There's going to be the engage. Anime Safety going in. He's going to get the Holy Nova, not quite. Actually pushed back by Lance, and Jaeger's on the back line. Doing a lot of damage onto Sig 1. Sig 1 has to back off. Baron's jumping in. He wants to do damage onto the Visual Hide. Misses the on point. I'm going to get healed up. 612. That's a fatal part. That's an execute. And Jaeger's now chasing onto Sig 1. Can he do it? One more Sonic Zoom or the boots. That'll be enough. But Dead Hunt's got no sentry. Anime Save Me. 5 seconds till he gets to secure the kill. But Dead Hunt will be able to roll over that wall. He should be possibly okay. Hunyegers got boots up now, and he's going to go for it. Dead Hunt with boots as well. Will he be able to do it? No, he won't. Hunyegers secures the kill. Ace for Elite 8, and that may just be the game.
This might just be the game. Very good rotation, although we did see Impunity just pulling off that rotation just so much better as compared to Elite 8. I actually did speak to Quarter 4 yesterday for a little short while as to how they came out with that rotation of theirs. And honestly, Quarter 4 just told me that it was hours and hours of preparation, and on top of that, a lot of practice as well, which I mean, to that, it kind of makes sense at the end of the day because they kind of pulled the rotation off so much better. And although the side of Elite 8 try it as well, it's just not as smooth or poetic per se as compared to that of Impunity when they did so yesterday. But anyways, a very good game coming up from the side of Elite 8. Very good draft as well, I must say, from Brenchong, but they just did not execute it too well. I do not think that giving your farm all to Mr. Jim is the bestest of idea, especially since he cannot quite hard carry per se, and the fact that you could have just snowballed or rather put on pressure with your Batiste had you got enough farm. Have you had enough farm, you could have just put pressure with the Batiste and not rely on Mr. Jim for that late game. So honestly, I guess it's just bad execution coming up from the side of Brenchong, but just good drafting overall.
Yeah, I think that they had a comp that could have won in the late game. But as you said, Elite 8, they kind of just copied this rotation, and it's obviously not going to be as polished, as well thought out as when it was played yesterday. But they knew the essence of how it worked. It's just push the wave, rotate down, push the wave, rotate down. And Brenchong's idea of, right, let's farm up Baron by him taking lane and jungle is perfect against that rotation, because all you have to do